All right, we are live. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Live Reality Games. Today's podcast stream is called LRGs 101. And what that means is today we are covering everything you need to know about live reality games. So this is the podcast, this is the stream for the people who don't know anything about live reality games and want to know more. So today we are going to be covering everything. We're going to talk about all the different types of live reality games, what's out there, what they look like, different types of live reality games, whatever. So send this to your friends, send this to your family to tell them more about live reality games. Or, if you know what live reality games are, tune in, because at the end, we're going to be talking about maybe ones you've never heard about and you want to know more about live reality games. So that being said, here we go. My name is Hannah, and I didn't know anything about the live reality games world. When I signed up to play Survival Challenge in 2018, I said, I love Survivor. I've always wanted to know if I could actually do it. If I, instead of staying at home and watching people play Survivor and just critique them and think that I'm so much better than them, I had to go out there and do it myself. And after playing Survival Challenge, I got into this world of there's all these games across the world, and I love it. So that is my experience with live reality games. And you know what? I think we should all share a more memorable experience too. So I'll just share when I played Survival Challenge in 2018, it rained nonstop and it was so cold. And I got to experience what you see when you watch Survivor, when people are suffering in the middle of the night and they're freezing cold. And I got to do it and I got to survive. And that was something that I get to carry with today. So that's me. Steven, do you want to introduce yourself next?
Hi, my name is Steven Stewart. I played my first live reality game in 2017, Kirk and Dustyn's Pirate Survival Expedition 2017. I also played with Hannah on her season of Survival Challenge. Mm-hmm. Her memorable moment might be the rain from that season, but I have tried my hardest to black out how cold I was over the course of those several days. But strangely enough, my most memorable experience still has to do with the rain. In Kirk and Dustyn's Pirate Survival Expedition game, it for the most part was sunny and kind of hot the entire week, except the evening we merged. And so it starts pouring rain just for this 3 or 4 hour period. And that's when they come and say, pick your stuff, follow us. And they take us to this space that's not far away from where my camp was. It says, congratulations, the 12 of you, you're merged. And we're just all standing there in the pouring rain, dripping wet. I didn't bring a rain jacket. I didn't bring a waterproof sleeping bag. I'm just like, oh my gosh. And it was just such a frantic, crazy moment of everyone working together, put the tarps up, get the camp all situated, meeting people. It was fantastic. And it's definitely one of my favorite experiences of that week.
Love it. All right, Kirk and Dustyn.
All right, well, I'll start. I'm Kirk. I can attest to their experience because I was the social media commentator that year on Facebook Live, and I got to witness it, but I got to sleep indoors, which was very nice. But I've started by being a host and a player in Adventure Kokopelli, and then I've also played in Pirate Booty Camp the first 2 seasons, and Survivor British Columbia Season 5 that you can see on YouTube right now. Next episode's coming out soon. And one of my favorite memories is probably avenging you getting voted off at Pirate Booty Camp Season 2 with the Jumbie 4. And I think it was one of the first Facebook Live streams. And I ended up winning by 1 vote. So that was definitely winning was one of the biggest highlights ever.
We got a winner here. No big deal.
No big deal. No love. It was by 1 vote, so barely.
Hey, a win is a win.
Yeah. All right, Dustyn.
So my name, like everyone has said so far, my name is Dustyn. It is also in the little caption there. I started with the live reality games thing probably about 10 years ago now. When I met Kirk, we hosted a few events. We've done a few smaller things for our little group on the side, the Adventure Gaming Group. We've hosted a few birthday parties, a few we had a wedding that we hosted, which was super fun. Probably one of the funnest things to see as well. My memorable experience from these games is that we played Pirate Booty Camp, and on the way driving back, it just felt like I was back as a kid leaving summer camp. I had so many great times. I had so many great memories. these events really like bring people together, bring the best out in people, and you learn so much about yourself and get to know so many new people. And the fact that we're bringing them to such a wide variety of people, all around the country, all around the world, literally, it's just really taken it to the next step. And I just can't wait to see where we go next.
That was beautiful. Oh my gosh. Just bring a tear to my eye. It really is summer camp though, don't you think?
That's what everybody says, is they always, it doesn't matter what game it is, where it's from, people have lifelong relationships after these. We know of people that have gotten married, had kids. The stories go on and on.
Yeah, it really does. So like, let's jump into the basics. So Steven, do you want to talk about like, if someone says, what is a live reality game?
Yes. So before we go any farther, I think we should kind of figure out what is a live reality game, or an LRG. We're going to use that acronym a lot this episode. And I think, and you're more than welcome to counter or say something different, it's a game that typically emulates a reality TV show where that's at least a day long, where players compete in a variety of physical and social challenges to win.
And it's live.
Yeah, it's live.
It's in person.
Because there's a whole other community of online reality games, and we're not touching that. We're like in-person games here. This is a live version.
Well, I think that was a nice starting point too, and I really like to break the term down for a lot of people and it's live, so people are meeting in person, face to face. We typically emulate, like you said, a reality style television show, and even branching into now the original live reality games, which are fantastic. And it's a game, it's a competition. Typically one person wins, and there are challenges and different things along the path.
Yeah. Most games tend to have some sort of elimination occurring throughout them, and those tend to be via voting. I feel like sometimes they'll have a vote, and then players compete in a challenge to see who gets eliminated, but you tend to see a whittling down of the cast to a last player or two standing.
And there's a bunch of ones out there too that are point driven, so there's no voting involved. It's just do your best in competitions, trade points throughout the game, and it's less competitive, more cooperative even. So
sounds less cutthroat and traumatic, which sounds nice to me.
So where would you guys say that LRGs got started? Like because I feel like Kirk and Dustyn, you guys have been in this world for a long time, way longer than I have. So like, what would you guys say as the maybe the first game you ever heard of being an LRG, or like you guys were there when the word live reality games was created? What do you guys think about that?
Well, I think you can talk about the term being coined. The first game I know about is just Adventure Kokopelli. It was like 2005, I want to say. It's more akin, when it first started, it was more like College Survivor, where it was all a group of people from Western Michigan University. And just Survivor fans getting together, going out into the woods and doing a camping trip where we played Survivor basically while we were camping. So there wasn't suffering, there wasn't like starvation. That seemed to come later in the 2010s as these games started becoming more popular, and with the advent of Facebook and social media, people started comparing stories, and I think one-upping each other to making their experience more heightened and more like the real show.
That's a really good point to stop down and talk about the question. I think I've gotten a lot, I bet you guys have gotten a lot, like, so wait, you were in the woods? So wait, where did you use the bathroom? Like, I guess the question that like maybe kind of real survivors get, but like I got like, also the fact that a lot of people, when I posted it on Facebook about going and playing this game, they're like, oh my gosh, Hannah, you were on Survivor? I was like, no, I was not. But like, you can think that, but let's talk about, the question of, are you really outside? So what are the different types of, games that we've seen, I guess with Survivor specifically, is I slept outside during Survival Challenge with just a blanket. That blanket was completely soaked, so it was on the ground under me to have somewhat of a barrier between mud and myself. That's it. Yes, I had to spoon with strangers. It was uncomfortable, but that's what I had to go through. Now, I've seen games where people were allowed to bring a luxury item. Maybe they picked a sleeping bag, or maybe you were allowed to bring a sleeping bag and a pillow. So that's what you got to bring. So what would you say about the different types of games, like it's a live reality game, you're really playing Survivor, it's really outside. What do you guys think about that?
Well,
Yeah, especially the live reality games that are based on Survivor. I think there's a different level and depending on how hardcore you want to get. For the really like survival based people, I think there are events that go like up to 7 days, which are really like you get hungry. And then there are shorter events that do have you outside for the day or maybe even just a weekend, that are a little bit more toned down, a little bit more survivable, I guess, for the average person out there. That fitting, I think. So
yeah.
So I think there's different calibers of what you want to get started with, or maybe want to push yourself towards.
Well, I think even in terms of survival aspect, games cater to a wide breadth of it, right? Like if you do a 1-day game, well, you're not going to worry about sleeping. Yeah, you might be hungry at the end of the day, but that's not a big deal. But even for longer games, I've had games where I've had sleeping bags. It makes a world of difference having a sleeping bag. I've had games where, like with Hannah, I had a blanket, or I had a game where I just had a small mat to sleep on. I had nothing else besides that and the clothes on my body. Some games have fire, so you are cooking. You're given rice. You need to ration your rice. Other games,
you get to eat that bland rice like that you see them eat on Survivor. It's awesome.
I know. Well, I mean, at that point, you're happy for any food.
Yeah, any food.
Or alternatively, you're in games where they don't have permission to do fire, so you have like other MREs or something else that they eat on. Or like just like snack bars, or I don't know.
And what's really fun is that there are reward challenges. You know, you could play a reward challenge to win a tarp, to win Flint. Watching Survivor BC, which is in Canada, it's really funny seeing they played a reward challenge and they got to go to McDonald's. And so a production member drove them to McDonald's. They had a video stream going of them talking strategy while eating burger and fries. It was so funny. It was amazing. And so that's been really cool with that too.
Yeah, I think you really have to dig into finding out about a particular production and if it's Survivor, how close is it to the real thing? If that's what you're looking to play, or do you just want to like dip your toes in? You're going to want probably a 1 to 2 day experience where you have the sleeping bag, or you have a tent, or there's no sleeping bag or tent involved. You have a place to sleep. There's so many different variants out there. You really have to kind of look at their past, talk to production to find out exactly what you're looking for.
Well, we're also in a day where the time where most of these shows have something on YouTube that you can watch as well, as you can go see the past seasons, what conditions are like. Or if they're not doing on YouTube, maybe they've streamed it through Facebook Live, so you can watch parts of it then to get a sense of what on earth am I getting myself into if I apply for this.
Yeah, and so like speaking of the history and YouTube and everything, so I have this, great view of Survival Challenge. Like I just I love Survival Challenge. That's where I started. Would you guys say, did Survival Challenge help bring live reality games to the forefront because they were having actual survivors come play and spreading the word about it? What do you guys think about that?
I really think it got a lot of notability because of the survivors and especially the charitable things that they do for the event. So by bringing the people in, by raising the money, I think it was a really good, got people talking. And I think really the live coverage was the next aspect to bring it to people. People at home could watch their loved ones compete, watch them play these crazy games, watch them meet the survivors in person, and they could root for their favorites at home. So brothers and sisters, like office workers, mom and dad, all tuned in and everyone compete. So it really brought everyone as a family and as a community together to watch their favorites. And I think that really transitioned well.
I think also notable, besides Survival Challenge, bringing actual survivors in, playing with super fans, legitimatizes this. But I also think Surviving Reelfoot started legitimatizing because of their YouTube presence, because of the well-edited, I think it was second season. It made it seem like, wow, people can put this on. I can actually play Survivor, which I know CBS probably doesn't want us to say, but the truth is you probably aren't going to get on Survivor if you've auditioned like 5 times, and you can keep doing it, but you can actually play these games. You can actually play it. And I think that's over time has created fans of this as well.
Right. And so, the history of Survival Challenge is that Survivor winner, Bob Crowley, started hosting Survival Challenge on his land in Maine. And they started having, super fans and real survivors come. Like Adam Klein has played, Sunday Berquist has played, Mama C, Spencer Bledsoe. I mean, the list goes on and on. LJ, you could just... And they have all said, Troy Zan, sorry, I just keep on thinking more. They have all said that the fact that they say that this game feels like you're playing Real Survivor. This is the closest thing you can get to playing Survivor. When you hear Real Survivor say that, and even say that this is can be harder than the real game, there's aspects of, because it's, we'll talk about how fast-paced it is. It's this is legit. These games are the real deal. And so speaking of bringing in the live videos that Dustyn just brought up, when I was playing Survival Challenge, Kirk had Facebook Live going all the time, every challenge, every tribal council, and people are tuning in, they're commenting on Facebook Live. And then when the game was over, I find out that real survivors were watching along and commenting. We had 2-time winner Sandra Diaz-Twine, the queen herself, was watching along, and she was rooting for certain people. And we've had Johnny Fairplay watch, love him or hate him, he was watching. We've had all types of people playing, and that
Kobe Archa is a huge fan. He's watched a ton. Yep.
And so that really adds this whole nother element of if you are a huge fan of Survivor, if you're watching the Facebook Live videos, you are seeing content that you've never get to see on the real show. You get to see every minute of everything. And especially if you're a volunteer or if you are an audience member and really there, you get to see so much.
Before we talk more about Survivor, though, this is live reality games. I think all of us, our experience is Survivor, but there's other live reality games based off other reality TV shows out there. I think we should talk a little about some of those real briefly. And so, for instance, there's a bunch of Big Brother games out there. I don't have much experience with the show, but what do y'all know about the Big Brother games that are there?
I think one of the biggest ones out there is Big Brother Columbus. Big Brother Columbus has been going steady for a few years, and it's just been gaining momentum after momentum. Just recently, they had a fantastic season, and it was all shot on YouTube, which anybody can check out, Big Brother Columbus. They actually put the live streams of the cameras online so people can watch, just like they do in Big Brother, where you can watch the live feeds. And so there are some that are just starting up to, like Big Brother Jersey Shore, which will be coming here soon. And then even some other iterations for Home for the Holidays that just came. I think they did 3 seasons so far.
Yeah, we drove down and we were surprised guests at Home for the Holidays. Travis Rindler runs that, and that's another Big Brother-esque game with the theme of challenges around the holidays. And so you bring things to wear that are thematic, like Christmas garb, and you just bring a whole assortment, and they're always in costume. It's always a bunch of fun. And it's a nice twist. A lot of these games are the game, like Big Brother, but sometimes with this little twist that the host or production team puts into it to give it their own thumbprint.
So the next question would be do they really all stay in one house?
Yes.
Yep. They really do. Yep. So it emulates Big Brothers. They're all living in one house.
Those games tend to be 3 days long. I don't know how long Big Brother Columbus is. I feel like Home for the Holidays is 3-ish, maybe 4 days long.
I think so. I don't think I've heard of a Big Brother that's a week long.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Maybe Columbus is. I don't know. That's a good question.
Yeah.
Okay, so some other another LRGs that we've seen an LRG that is like the Mole, Victory House, the Mole, where they actually have everybody come into a house. Maybe is it a weekend long as well,
yeah,
a long
3 days.
weekend, 3 days.
It's a Friday to Sunday.
One person is the Mole. They do challenges, they take quizzes, and it's amazing. It's so fun.
And for those of you who don't know, The Mole was an early 2000s reality TV show, I believe, on Fox. It ran 5 seasons in the US, but it's had much more longevity overseas. But you have about let's say 14 people competing in challenges. The winner adds money to a pot. The last person standing takes the pot. But one of the 14 people is a saboteur, the Mole, that's hired by production. And each round, the players take a quiz on who they think that saboteur or the mole is. And the person who does the worst is eliminated. And you keep doing this round after round, and eventually the players of the game slowly figure out who is the mole.
Yeah, and those episodes are on YouTube as well. I have not finished the most recent season, so no spoilers, please. But most of all these shows we're talking about, they make YouTube episodes, and they're amazing.
And there was probably some other mole games floating around. I just don't have those names off the top of my head, so I apologize to those amazing content creators out there.
Yeah,
I'll add them to the list.
We played a mole once in 2010 or 2011. And it was run by the late great Jake Valentine. I'm so glad we're doing a shout out to this great LRG player that passed away recently. But he hosted a great mole event before Facebook streaming, and so there's a nice history of these games developing before YouTube and everything. It's really cool to see how it's evolved. I think in 10 years this stuff is going to be really big.
Yeah, and I'll just briefly say, when I've talked about live reality games with people, I just constantly hear people say oh yeah, when I was in college, a group of friends, we played a Survivor one weekend. People all around the world are playing Survivor for fun or Big Brother for fun, and now it's on a larger scale. One game that I would love to see get played more in the LRG world is Amazing Race. I think Amazing Race would be so fun to see LRG in the LRG format. I played a game kind of like Amazing Race here in Dayton. It was for money. It was a huge advertisement stunt for a car dealership. And but it was a one-day game. We went around Dayton, Ohio, doing different challenges, and being hams for the camera. It was so fun. My friend Dion and Donna played a Amazing Race game in LA called Race Across LA. It was created and run by a person who works for Survivor and Big Brother. So he was a big super fan who made this. It was a 2-day game, I think. It was so fun to watch that happen live. And maybe I was going to be hosting an Amazing Race game pre-COVID, and then COVID ruined it. And maybe the plans are still in the works for when the world is back to normal. So stay tuned.
So I think I have a story about every game, but I actually played Amazing Race in 2008 in Detroit, Michigan. So I heard about this on a message board. It was yuku.com, before Facebook. How we found out about these games were these obscure forums, and you go oh, Amazing Race fan. So they were looking for teams of 4. This team needed an extra person, so I ended up playing along with them. We raced. It's kind of Amazing Race kind of comes from road rallies, which were really popular in Europe. And then we ran around Detroit doing foolish things like running through the mall with paper airplanes, throwing them at each other. And we were running through a graveyard looking for numbers on tombstones. I'm we're going to get arrested. We're going into the fire department, taking picture with the fire truck. I mean, it was just crazy. Then we ended up at a bar at the very end, and my team ended up third to last.
But you had fun.
Kirk, do you have all this listed on your CV?
No. I frequently forget when I apply for other shows.
I'd love to see the full list of your games somewhere.
I know, right? We need to have that. There's actually a game that I just remembered that takes place in LA, where you pair up with a reality star, and you do it. What is that called? It's Amazing Race style. Is it Race Through?
Is that Race Through Reality? Is that with Jillian?
No,
that's not Race.
That's something else. What is?
That's something else.
Yes, Jillian runs it. Oh man, now I can't remember.
What's it called? Everybody, if somebody's gonna know.
I know someone knows.
When
we'll
they
put
watch
it
this in the future, they'll post it in the chat.
Right. So what we're just a little spoiler alert, in the podcast notes of this show, I'm going to put a whole list of every game that we know of as of now in the show notes, so you can see the list and you can Google any of these shows or search it on YouTube, and you can probably find it. So
it's not an exhaustive list. If there's stuff we're missing, please let us know. I think one of the things that we as an LRG community need to do is to come up with a full, more fleshed out list of what is everyone doing around the world.
So those are
to touch back the one that we were talking about, Reality Rally.
There it
There we
is.
go. That was the one you get paired with a celebrity and you run around town. So
Sounds
And
like a
there's-
blast.
So that's another fundraiser event too. And some of the biggest events of this genre are the fundraising events. I mean, Survivor Challenge is huge. This one we just mentioned is huge. And then what's been developed, Survivor Battle of the Bush.
There's
Um,
Live to Give.
And Live to Give.
and Live to Give is really Live to Give is a you could just talk about that forever. The amount of money Live to Give raises is absolutely outstanding. What they do for who they donate to.
and it's a ton of charities. Everyone signs
yeah.
up with a separate charity. So you have about 20 different charities that all get proceeds from this. So it doesn't go to just one cause, it goes to all these great causes.
So
And-
you have our level of charity where we're raising like, $1,000, and then you have groups that are raising tens of thousands of dollars. So it's pretty incredible what Survivor, Big Brother, and reality games have inspired.
I mean, when you play these games, and if there is a cash prize, are you ever playing for the cash prize? You three personally.
No.
Yeah.
No, not me.
I think
I just
at
want
least
the
for the
W.
four of us, at least for the people who are doing these games, you're there to win. You want the win. The title is the victory, the spoils of war, right there.
And like I think they put the monetary gain in there toward to really, once you get towards the end, someone might make a bigger move, thinking of like, oh, I could win $500 right now if I make it, So sometimes that's in there, but usually not.
For me, it's like, is this going to cover I might cover my airfare and travel expenses if I win. It's like, okay, maybe I'll net neutral for this experience, but generally, like, I'm there for the win and the experience, the friends and the adventure.
And generally speaking, from all the YouTube versions I've seen of these live reality games, people will say in their intro interview saying, oh, yes, I want the $500, $100. But at the end, it's never talked about in a final jury speech. Like in their confessionals, they didn't get out the prize money at the end. Even if they may have won it, they won something better and more valuable to them. So.
Yeah, and we keep on mentioning the different lengths of games, but I'll just briefly, break down. There's 1-day games where you just show up in the morning, and by the end of the night, you've got Final Tribal Council. You've got 2-day games where you stay overnight. There's 3-day games, 4-day games. I think the most we've seen is maybe a 7-day game of Survivor.
Beyond 7.
7 is definitely the longest. So, and then besides that, Survivor is played on college campuses, and those could be, those are usually a semester long. And that's, like we said, that could be a whole nother podcast, but there are amazing episodes out there of college Survivor. So many colleges do this. They're great content, and it's pretty cool seeing college students play Survivor over the length of a semester.
So one of the best things about College Survivor is the diversity that they find in their casting. As time has gone on, we're seeing some of the most diverse and also gender balanced casts that we see in any of the YouTube and Facebook Live Survivors.
So we've talked a lot about games based off reality TV shows. We mentioned earlier that there are some games that are unique, that were created. Maybe they pull and draw inspiration from these reality TV shows, but they're unique in themselves. So, for instance, there's Sequester. Hannah, you are the Sequester star here. Do you want to talk a little about Sequester?
Sequester star. No, I'm not a Sequester star. But so Sequester has 2 different formats. There is it started out as an online game, and then they started turning into a live game, which has amazing episodes online. So, and then they started during the pandemic, where everybody's stuck at home, they started producing more online games called minis, which are 1-night games. But back to the live games of Sequester, it's such a fun original take on taking aspects of all these other games and turning it into a really fun original game. So just quickly, basically, correct me if I'm wrong, but the Sequester game is you play a challenge, and within like a game, like kind of like the show The Genius, if anybody knows what that is. It's some type of like mental task or some type of challenge, and someone ends up voted out. Basically, the person who's voted out during the live game, they are voted out, but
are
do they
eliminated.
they are eliminated? Do they take someone with them to challenge them, or do they throw 2 people in?
So in the first half of the game, you compete in a challenge. A player you compete in a challenge. Some people are immune. There's a vote, and whoever's voted is eliminated. That person has the power to then select 2 other people to go up in a head-to-head challenge where the winner stays, loser leaves. So you lose 2 people per round. Then at like the halfway point of the game, you're like 10 people left. Then it becomes whoever you do a challenge, people win immunity. You have a vote. Whoever's voted out is not eliminated anymore. They then choose a person to compete in a challenge against, and the winner stays in the game. And I think what's cool about Sequester is their use of the Final Four in both the mini version and the LRG version, where all 4 players, you have like 3 minutes to deliberate and figure out who they're voting out against each other, and the person who's eliminated takes someone down with them. What's the name of this? I'm blanking the term.
Oh, drag.
Yeah, there's the drag round. It's always fascinating to watch occur.
It's really the landmark of Sequester. It's really just a fascinating concept to drag someone out. When you get voted out, you could take someone with you, which I'm sure many Survivor players have wanted to do.
How did you survive that round, Hannah? What's your secret?
Oh, I voted out someone who wouldn't take me with them. It just have to be all sweet and like, don't take me out. So actually, they're filming their new season, I think, right now.
Really?
So I think that I hope they have their all the COVID testing and precautions in place. But I'm pretty sure they're filming. So I'm very excited to hear about that. Do you want to go to some of the other original games we know of? There's Mayhem Manor, Race Through Reality, and Totem Pole. So,
Dustyn, you seem to be the expert on Mayhem Manor.
Yeah, we just did a few podcasts for season 1 and season 2. So thanks, Neville, for bringing on your special guests from those seasons. It was great to sit down and talk. Mayhem Manor works kind of like Big Brother. There's voting involved, and it's secretive, kind of like Survivor. They get paired off. There's a bunch of, it's really challenge based. It is a game of strategy and social building. However, if you can't win a challenge, you can't win Mayhem Manor. It really comes down to it.
Not the game for me.
Yeah. Well, you never know what the challenge is.
I know. Actually, I've gotten better. A
little bit of practice makes perfect. But so yeah, it's really about competitions. There's a huge cast. Usually it starts with 40, and the different thing for Mayhem Manor, they really want to provide a vacation for people. That's really what they want. Not maybe as hardcore as maybe say like a Reelfoot or a survival challenge, that kind of thing. They really want you to lay by the pool if you get voted out and just enjoy yourself from there.
Maybe that is the game for me.
Hey, that's what the variety of live reality games are for. So
wait, I've been listening to your guys' recaps.
Mm-hmm.
Are you always with a partner? Are you paired up within the game? Is that one of their staples of the game, or was that just one of the games they did?
That is one of the staples of the game. So the initial round, you get to put so many points on who you want your partner to be. And if you and your partner have the most points together collectively, you get paired. So they encourage you to sign up in pairs or to bring multiple people into the game to enjoy the vacation together. But it all comes down to the game. So you may not be playing with somebody you brought, and you may be playing with a complete stranger. It's totally up to kind of the luck of the draw and a little bit of strategy.
But it's still a good time, and everybody's having a good time together.
Very much a good time if you go. So
I think it's like the fraternity of live reality games.
That is the best way to put it. And do you want to drop what's going on in a month with that?
Yeah, we'll be starting a new viewer group here and having the host, Ame, who has made her way around the live reality games as our podcaster and our main coverage person for the event. So she'll be giving her opinion, and we'll see the cast here pretty soon for an assessment in a few weeks.
I think one other aspect of the mayhem of the game is this game is 2 days long, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Oh,
40
I thought it was longer. Oh my gosh.
40 people through 2 days. And granted, you eliminate 2 people at a time, so you can work the cast that way, but that sounds too much for my taste, personally.
It's very quick from what the past participants have said. So.
What about who knows about Race Through Reality?
Yeah, Race Through Reality has gone on YouTube and has done a few seasons. The latest season had a smaller cast. I think there was maybe 12 people in total, maybe 10. The differentiating aspect of that game is that each round is a different reality show that it's based off from. They've done things like Project Runway. They've done spoofs on The Mole, Who Done It, and different small challenges based on these. My favorite aspect is they started a challenge and then somebody died. And then it turned into whodunit right then.
Oh my gosh.
So it surprised everyone in the cast. It surprised the viewers at home. So you never really know what to expect when you go into. It's really great. Check out the YouTube. And
Oh, I totally am now. Like, that sounds so fun.
It sounds kind of like the sampling plate of LRGs, right? You get a little of every single game.
And literally, they did an amazing race where they drove out to the big city. I think it was filmed in, Manhattan, in that area. And they had to run around the city and do some choreography. And, like, it was fantastic.
So I kind of need a Project Runway LRG in my life now. Like, I did not realize that till right now. And I am all in. I'm all in on this.
Okay, I've been waiting for somebody to do a cooking show like the Great British Bake Off,
Yes.
or like
This
Chopped.
is what we're missing.
Chopped would be the most amazing. Like, please, somebody out there
With
do
a
Chopped
kitchen that can
full
fit
cover.
3 people.
Isn't Chopped where you're given ingredients and told to make something? I have friends
it's
that do that
only
for
like-
fun every once in a while.
Yeah, it's only like 4 competitors, right? It's like
Yeah.
4 people. So I mean, anybody could do it. Do it. Somebody.
Somebody
No, I
do
hate
Chopped
to spill-
LRG.
I hate to spill all the episodes in Race Through Reality, this last show, but they actually combined, you mentioned a cooking show and Project Runway, they combined RuPaul's Drag Race with a cooking show. So you gotta check it out after that.
Oh my gosh, I love that so much. Ooh.
Oh, boy.
One other game is the totem pole.
Mhm.
Can one of you also speak to that as well? Again, there's a lot of games out there, and I wish I had time to watch through all of them.
Absolutely. Liz, the host of Melbourne Survivor, and I have been covering the latest season and interviewing the eliminated players and some special guests that we'll talk about. But the totem pole works pretty much. I don't know if there's any. It's just an original one that the winner of the challenge will rank people, and the higher you are in the rank, the more safe you are typically. And then the more closer to the bottom, more likely you are out. There is voting involved and people are eliminated. There's challenges. It's not Survivor-like, so you're not in the woods. You are in a house, similar to Big Brother or Sequester even. The whole concept was started by Wes. He typically, and seems like a lot of these games have started in colleges. He and his college buddies started playing the game on campus and then involved since then. The latest season was open for everyone and casting is open. So if you are interested in any of these games in general, facebook.com/groups/LRG casting. Applications are open for that, for Reelfoot we talked about before, and
they'll
so
post,
many others.
Yeah, updates for anytime casting opens for a game. You'll find that in there. You know what we should, I think that's, most of the original games that we know of. We would love to see a game of, Project Runway LRG, Chopped LRG. The Genius is one of my favorite game shows. That would be great. Wouldn't that be a great LRG?
Yeah.
That would be great. One live game that we created for Adventure Gaming Group was called the Gold Rush. We did it about 3 times with different groups of people, and it's basically a game where you just try to win gold, like gold coins.
Fire tokens, if you will.
Fire tokens, yeah. I feel like Survivor stole this from Pirate Bay Camp or Gold Rush.
I feel PTSD.
So, at the end of the round, you have the choice to deposit money into a vault. And your ranking, it's kind of like totem pole, you get ranked in different classes. So there's 3 tribes, basically, the upper class, the middle class, and the lower class. You want to not be in the lowest class. You want to have more money in the vault so that that whole team gets eliminated, or the bottom person from that team gets eliminated. There's also a shop, almost like a RPG, that has tools for challenges or advantages strategically to use in the game. The coins are exchangeable except for the coins that you put in the vault. So if you keep coins on you, you can use them to curry favor with other people. So it's a fun game. We've done it 3 times, and I think someday we'll throw it out there again just to see. It's fun.
Yeah, that sounds really cool. So I also want to stop down and talk about where we see these live reality games around the world. Kirk, you brought up Survivor Battle the Bush, which was hosted by a survival challenge. You know, that's been in Maine, that's been in Illinois. They hosted a game in South Africa as a fundraiser for a school in South Africa. So like there was a game in South Africa, which is so cool. American survivors came, South African survivors came, and then fans came. So that was amazing. What other places have we seen these games take place?
Australia.
Woohoo! Shout out to Liz.
2 different iterations in Australia currently, and then actually one in New Zealand too. So we have Backyard Survivor, which is currently airing on YouTube, and then Melbourne Survivor just finished up, and then Survivor Matariki actually takes place in New Zealand.
And the guys at Backyard Survivor have done a lot of organizing this community as well, really organizing the Survivor fan-made community in Australia. And it was really funny how both our communities found each other and realized we really do have the same purpose, which is to be a hub for all these groups so you can expose, you can cast, you can find people, and you can watch some of your favorite players play.
And of course, we're talking international, so we can't leave out Survivor BC. So.
Love it. Yep. In British Columbia. So great. Yeah. So Stephen, you've played, and Kirk, you've played, right?
Yeah.
Dustyn, have you ever gone out for it? Or okay, you're just like me. Just
the location for BC was just so amazing. For us, we were on top of a mountain, and it was the clouds would roll in. It was breathtaking.
I was not on the top of the mountain when I played, but I will say it was the most beautiful and serene Survivor experience I've had in terms of weather and geography. It was 70 degrees and sunny. I had a sleeping bag, so I slept great. It was an amazing time minus getting voted out.
If you look at our notes in the podcast notes, or if I'm able to add these to the video later, I'm just going to kind of quickly just kind of like say a bunch of different locations that we know of. We know of one in Tennessee, Buffalo, Maine, Washington. We've got Colorado. We've got Florida. There's Oregon, Pennsylvania, New Mexico,
Texas, Los Angeles.
Like, just name a state.
Michigan,
Maryland, Virginia. Did we cover those? Are we in every state by now? We need a map.
We need a map.
That's a good idea.
And we need to like send people out to make LRGs in states that don't have LRGs, like for spreading the gospel or something. Like, who's going to take Arizona? So there's so many great ones all over. So if you don't have to travel too far, I don't think, to get to some of these games. Man, so we've talked about where they are, how long they are, different types. I think, what do you think, Stephen?
I'd like to dive a little bit more into Survivor, because I feel like the collective 4 of us, that's more of our bread and butter, and just kind of differentiating, because I feel of all the LRGs, there's the most variety of Survivor games out there. For instance, I really feel there's 2 kinds of live reality Survivor games. There's the college games, and then there's the non-college games, I want to say, where a bunch of college campuses, I believe Survivor Maryland is the true grandfather of this, run these games over the course of the semester, and a fair amount of them actually film it, air it, and put it on YouTube. Genki was the original host, for instance, University of Virginia. There's University of Maryland. There's Ohio State. There's a whole range of schools that do this, and I've been very impressed with the quality. Honestly, like Survivor Maryland All-Stars might just be one of the best seasons of Survivor ever. I would go to war for that opinion.
I think we have our select favorites. So Michigan season 1, I don't know, that was pretty good.
A lot of people like Michigan season 1.
I still need to go back and watch that. I hear such great things about that. And you know what? While we're in the Survivor drought, while we don't have Survivor filming, like this is the time to go watch all these.
Absolutely.
What about some original ideas that we have seen come out of LRGs? You guys have brought talked about how you came up with the kind of the fire tokens idea of buying stuff with fire tokens. Have you guys seen any original ideas that really stick out to you in LRGs that you want to share?
Oh gosh, I wish I was prepared for this question, because over the years, I've heard of different Survivor LRGs saying like, oh my gosh, I made that challenge, or oh my gosh, we created the double vote. Like there's so many different games. And I think if you look at LRGs collectively, we may not have come up with the idea first, but because there's more iterations of LRGs than actual Survivor, we've gotten to see these advantages play out before actual people, casuals that just watch the actual show. So I feel like people that are into LRGs are sometimes one step ahead of the casual fan base because we see these twists more often.
Well, I think one of the closest examples would be what is the island of returnees for Survivor?
Redemption
Island. So
there's like so many islands. I was like,
it's like Ghost Island, Exile Island,
Island of like reality shows. It's like once you're eliminated, you're out of the game. However, the traditional thing for a live reality game are people coming back. You usually have a buyback challenge or some way to get back into the game to get you that experience that you really want for. And I think that's something that carried through to the actual television show and realized people want to see people come back in a certain fashion.
But they don't. We realize they don't.
Certain fashion means pre-merge fine, post-merge debatable.
Yeah, Final Five. One thing that came to mind, speaking of Big Brother Columbus, is I think their latest season, they had a shop where you would earn, currency, you would earn points based on how well you compete in the challenges, right?
Correct.
And maybe if someone got voted out, could they give you their points? Yes. Okay. And then you would enter one at a time into the store, and the store had all these advantages that you could buy. It was my favorite part of the whole season. I loved that stupid store. It was wonderful. And that is something I think we've seen. What was that in Big Brother? It was like where they entered a room and there was like a big tablet and they got to pick an advantage off of the tablet. But like the Big Brother Columbus one was done better. Okay. It was so good. And you got to pick an advantage for that round that you spend your money that could help you potentially. So I loved that twist.
I think these live reality games, LRGs, allow the producers and makers and the schemers behind them to really push the envelope and really say like, hey, we've seen such in the show, but how can we take this further? Where can we inject some creativity into this? Which I really enjoy. And when I helped out with Survivor BC a bit last season, and in that season they had an Exile Island called Island of Patmos. And it was kind of fun. They're like, what are some offbeat things we can design to put there where like, maybe how can we bring down the power level of these advantages, make there be a disadvantage you need to navigate to take an advantage with it. So I had fun with that personally.
While you were talking, I remember, the fact that pushing the envelope is that Big Brother Columbus has had a Survivor round in the midst of playing Big Brother. So it's like, hey guys, this round we're playing Survivor, and they were split into tribes and they had to have an immunity challenge, and you would only vote, and that tribe would go to tribal council. Like Big Brother would never do that. And so Big Brother Columbus got to do that.
We definitely, I think, was it before Survivor where two tribes went to tribal council and voted together as one tribe? Didn't we see that before they did it on Survivor? So there's examples of a lot of these twists happening prior. So I feel like you almost want to like catch up with LRGs to see what the twists of the future will be.
Adam Klein would credit Survival Challenge for having an idol hidden at tribal council, hidden at the voting booth. There was a rock that was holding, you guys might correct me if I'm wrong, because I don't know exactly, but there was a rock holding the votes down. I mean, the blank pieces of paper. And so you'd move the rock, get your piece of paper and vote, and then you put the rock back on the paper. Apparently, if you would have just flipped the rock over and read the underside, it said, this is a hidden immunity idol. You can keep this. And the whole season, no one ever turned it over to read it.
What?
Yeah,
right?
I've heard this too.
Because that's like I'm pretty sure that's like the first time that had ever been done, or like no one had that in the back of their mind. Or
What
something.
year was that? Because
2017.
Yeah, 2017.
So in 2016, 1 year prior to that, at Pirate Booty Camp Season 2, Cody James, hey, shout out to you, Cody. He sat on an idol at Tribal Council. It was under it was in the wood of the wood bench they were sitting on, and he didn't find it. And then subsequent Tribal Council, I sat down and said, "Oh, what's that?" And I thought it was a bag of coins for Pirate Booty Camp that somebody left at the auction, and inside was an idol. And I already had an idol in my pocket, so I was just like, I'm just gonna play it. I thought it was fake. But I don't even think that's the first one. I think there's iterations of that happening prior to 2010.
Right.
So these twists, like you're saying, are like LRGs create them, and then the shows take it off. Because who did that? Was it Australian Survivor?
New Zealand.
New Zealand.
Sorry.
South Africa has
South
done
Africa
it.
Survivor Palesa pulls an idol out during Tribal Council after the swap.
And that then cut to Adam Klein during Winners at War,
Before
talking about the podium. Like, I know that's the idol. I know that's the idol. Because he had seen it happen on Survivor South Africa, but he had also experienced an LRG where that happened.
Yeah, it should have been an idol. It looked like
I wish it was.
I know.
Let me play the podium, Jeff.
It was
Let me play it.
so good. So I love that LRGs bring that great aspect out. Yeah, so what else, what other things do you think we should be talking about when we're talking about LRGs 101, all about LRGs?
I would say if you are interested in participating in one of these live reality games, is to do a little bit of research, just to look at like the past seasons that they've done before, exactly like what goes into it, how long it is. Make sure you know what you sign up for before getting into a live reality game.
Yeah, and there's one thing I think we should hit on real quick before we end. And like, I see that, we have some more ideas of where to take this type of podcast later about talking about LRGs in general. But like, I think we should talk about challenges in LRGs at all. Do you guys want to talk about that real quick, about like what kind of challenges you see in these games? Sure. They're homemade survivors. So it's pretty cool how the different things that you can come up with in these games.
Yeah, I think the production quality of the challenges really ranges. For instance, survival challenge, I think we've talked it up a lot, but I think one of the things that does better than most of the community is its production value of the challenges. Like, you feel like you're playing a legit challenge in that case. But even for more smaller scale survivors, it's interesting and cool to see how creative hosts get with the materials and stuff they have available to still emulate those kinds of challenges.
Like, there's the classic holding a disc in your hand with a ball on top of it and seeing how long you could balance the ball. Like, we've seen that on Survivor plenty of times. We see, classic, the slide puzzle at the end of the challenge. There's slide puzzles galore. There's endurance challenges. I think surviving Reelfoot had where you're holding onto a rope over the lake and, seeing how long you could hold yourself over the lake, which is, a survivor challenge. So what other ones?
One of the most popular ones done in most live reality games that I've seen, or just one that's been copied so often, is Steal the Bacon, as it's phrased or coined. There's an object in the middle of two participants. Both participants run at the object and has to bring it over to one side. So
I hope to never have to play that challenge.
I hope you do someday so I can watch.
I'm just gonna be like, because I don't like getting in like wrestling or getting aggressive or whatever. I'll be like, oh, you know what? But then just like cut to me, like watch me actually play, and I'm gonna be like, get out of my way. The competitor will come out.
I think of all the challenge, physical strength challenge are the rarest. I think those are the ones you most rarely see and experience when playing the game. I think Steal the Bacon. I think I've seen like one or two iterations of like the brawl challenge where you have like the padding, you're trying to push someone outside of a circle.
Oh yeah.
Those are like the only true strength challenges I really see. You see a lot more endurance, a lot more kind of like multi-part tribe survival challenge.
There's the classic stuff. Tell me a story challenge where someone tells a story and they have to go answer the trivia question and get the most items or something from that. Survival challenge has like this iconic giant cart challenge where it's
that'd be a strength challenge.
Huge, it's this huge cart. They have to put the wheels on. You've got to put the bearings on, and then you have to put people on top of the cart. You push it around the whole field. You push it through the water. Like, that is the most insane challenge ever. So that's, it's pretty cool.
Hannah, did we push you on that cart, or were you pushing with us?
No, I was pushing it.
Okay, yeah.
Technically,
we had
I don't know if I really was, but I was there.
I watched that and filmed it, and I still don't understand how that thing goes together, becomes a catapult, becomes a boat, becomes a car.
Oh, yeah.
And it's the most versatile challenge equipment ever.
I was like in shock. Like, it's pretty incredible. But yeah, there's all levels. There's another type of strength challenges with water, because water is a usable resource at some of these. So sometimes they'll have a large bucket of some kind that'll be suspended by a rope, or you're holding it up, and your competitors will be filling it up with water, or it's predetermined how much water is in it per your body weight. So sometimes that happens as well.
Pirate Survival, we had to build a wooden pallet that we then put our buckets on, and the other tribe would race to fill up the buckets and make it heavier and heavier for those people who are carrying it. That was, I enjoyed that challenge, but I was not carrying
another challenge that you guys hosted during Pirate Booty Camp is, did you guys have like little platforms in the middle of the lake and people had to balance on top of the platform?
I've done that one.
Like that is just like classic. That's like old school Survivor that we loved watching. Ian and Tom holding on to a pole in the middle of the ocean. Like, you guys got to put people on a platform in the middle of a lake and say like, all right, last one standing wins.
I think one of our favorite ones that we do are definitely the slingshots. It gives people a different instead of just throwing a ball or something, you're actually using a slingshot, and it's not an opportunity. You get to use a slingshot every day, so it's something special.
Blowguns. I've used the blowguns too.
Oh, the blowgun challenge.
That are kind of survival related, like a fire making challenge, blow darts, slingshots, knots, doing knots or undoing knots.
Yeah.
Looking
opening
for
chest.
treasure, opening chests. Yeah, all of that stuff is really exciting to watch, and you see those in a lot of iterations.
Yeah, so you're like playing the real game. So if you guys think of anything else, you could jump in, but like I'll just say that if whenever we've been wanting to have this podcast, the overview, forever. Like, I've just really wanted to get this out there, and I'm so glad you guys all joined to get this information out there. And looking to the future of like other topics we could cover, we could cover like how you cast these live reality games, how they're filmed, how, people who have won, what are winning strategies, how not to be the first boo, how to handle pre-existing relationships when you show up and somebody, different ways that's been handled. Like, there's a lot of like meta ideas we could cover with this, just LRGs in general. But can you guys think of anything else we need to say before we?
I would say if you have a question or a comment and you watch this at a later time, leave it in the chat. It might be an idea for us to cover in a future episode.
Yes.
Please
yes,
do.
Totally leave a comment. We'll see it and we could cover it.
And if there's something that we missed talking about or don't have you on our radar yet, please reach out to us. We'd love to get in contact and start covering your stuff or exposing it to the greater audience that we're building.
Yeah, we have viewer groups on Facebook for, most of these YouTube videos that are coming out or Facebook Live videos coming out. We have a viewer group where you could talk with other people who are watching about the show. So check us out at facebook.com/live-reality-games. This is also, this is I love Kevin's comment right now. You nerds are national treasures.
We wear the name.
Can you
pride.
click it? Oh, yeah.
I need to. There we go. You nerds are national treasures. I'm going to put this on my resume. I have been called a nerd national treasure. Thanks, Kevin. Yeah, that's like the perfect way to end this, being nerds about LRGs. So, anybody else want to say anything before we end the podcast?
I guess we are always open and looking for other participants who may want to speak about these shows, have your experience be heard on these. So if you're interested in becoming a podcaster, even somebody behind the scenes that can help promote, just reach out to us as well. Send us a message. We have a great team so far, and we can't wait to build it even stronger.
Yeah, well, thanks everybody for jumping on and talking about LRGs. I feel like we're going to create like this little like we're just growing the LRG army, you know, of all these people who love voting out other people and sleeping in the woods. One of us. All right. Well, that's it for today. And we look forward to hearing from whoever's listening or watching. Let us know that you're there, and we can't wait to hear from you. All right. Bye, everyone.
It was a blast. Bye, guys.